everyone. I'm Ted Kirk, and welcome back to the second edition of At Home with Glenn Burns. We are in the middle of tornado season that runs from March to May, and today Glenn's going to be here sharing some information about how to keep your home and your family safe and secure during tornado season. So whether you're new to preparation or you've been through it before, I think Glenn's got some helpful tips for us to all keep safe. So thank you, Glenn, for having us.
Always
out again.
a fun time to be with you guys.
Well, Glenn, you've covered this for decades. Has there been a tornado that has particularly stuck out in your mind in terms of, just the sheer power of the storm or just some?
Well, there are three, actually. Going back to 2011, it was the worst outbreak I think this country has ever seen, from Texas to Georgia to New York, billions of dollars in damage. We had 15 tornadoes we were tracking in a single day here in northern Georgia.
Oh, wow.
And it was juggling. It was really scariest situation I've ever been in as far as forecasting goes, because you had so many tornadoes and supercells and severe thunderstorms. It was just tough trying to keep everybody informed. And that's what you need to do, is to keep everybody informed. But 2011 and 2008, and then we had the downtown Atlanta tornado.
Oh, remember that. The dome, the Georgia Dome was.
Yeah, they had the basketball championships, and they had to stop those.
Wow.
And then I think one of the scariest was back when we had the Noonan tornado, and it was an EF4 with winds that were over 170 miles per hour, and it demolished the high school. Had it been hours earlier, I don't know how many kids would have survived that.
Wow, that is incredible. Mm-hmm. Well, there's so much that goes into preparation, and, we don't always get it right. But, what are some of the common mistakes that people make during this time? Obviously, maybe not listening to the forecast.
Well, yeah. I mean, the main thing is what are we going to do? What are we going to do? You need to come up with a plan before you get that tornado warning. Your family needs to go to a safe place that you've already designated. Everybody needs to be on the same page. And you need to get your information from a reliable source, like WSB. You have so many meteorologists that are on the internet right now making up stories and different forecasts, but you need to be informed with the official forecast, and you need to take action immediately. When they issue a tornado warning, you need to know what to do. Now, you also need to know where you are in the scheme of things. You need to know what counties are to your west and your southwest, because that's frequently where the storms come from. So when you get a warning 2 counties away, you know that it's heading for you.
Speaking of that, are all the tornadoes the same, or or there's a lot of difference in the tornadoes? Can you give us a little bit of education about what's going on in a tornado?
There's a huge difference. So most of the tornadoes come from what's called a supercell. That's a whole rotating thunderstorm. That's where you see the more violent tornadoes, the long track EF2s. And then you have the squall lines that you can actually see little spin-ups of the EF1s, the EF0s. And then you have hurricanes like Helene that spawned all those tornadoes in eastern Georgia when it came up. So you have many sources, but all wide ranges. We have never seen an EF5 in Georgia, thankfully, but pretty close there in Noonan with that EF4.
Well, and I know we're near railroad tracks right now. I hear a sound of a train coming by.
Right.
Is that something? I've heard that. I haven't been through, experienced it myself, but is that something, a sound that you may hear during a tornado? I've heard people say that it may sound like a train.
It does. And if you don't live near railroad tracks, I would take cover immediately. But you mentioned that. That's an interesting point, because I have colleagues at Georgia Tech, and they're doing research into that sound. So there's a resonance that these tornadoes actually make right before they form. And Georgia Tech is leading right now in a study to determine if that can be a forecast tool. Just the sound.
Yeah. So any other warning signs besides the sound?
Yes, you have the sound, and you have an incredible amount of cloud-to-cloud lightning, not necessarily to the ground, but cloud-to-cloud lightning. There's a cluster of it that forms around tornadoes. So you see a lot of lightning occurring in the sky. That's a pretty good sign you're near the most dangerous part of the storm.
And I imagine it's going to get dark pretty quick, no matter what time of the day.
Yeah, we have tornado seasons here, but we've had tornadoes in every season of the year here in Georgia. Now, they're more frequent and stronger in the spring. We have a fall severe storm season. We've seen a lot of strong tornadoes in the fall as well.
Right. Well, and, obviously we try to incorporate our windows in here, and, we have different types of windows available, some with more strong glass, shatter resistant glass. We have what we call laminated glass, which is kind of like your car windshield that doesn't let the debris enter into the car. Obviously, with that type of force of winds, then I'm sure your recommendation is going to be get away from the windows.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look like at a window like this, 10 feet by 10 feet, and we have an EF0, that's the weakest tornado where the winds are 65 to 85 miles an hour. So let's just take 75 as the median. You have a window like this, 10 feet by 10 feet, you have almost 1,500 pounds of pressure with just that 75 mile per hour wind moving in with the weakest tornado ever.
Oh, wow.
So that's a lot of force coming in. You need something that's really substantial. And you also need to realize that it's not maybe just a tornado, but severe thunderstorms can produce that kind of wind as well, not just a tornado.
That's good to know. And you hear a lot of talk about tornado shelters or safe rooms. Can you tell us a little bit about, where those should be, what type of preparation, what do we need to have in those areas to be ready for something
in
like
the middle part of the house, away from windows and doors, is always what we suggest. Under a stairwell, in the basement, and you need to have a weather alert radio, you need to have some water, you need to have your cell phones charged, so in case there's any emergencies. And after the storm too, keep the kids inside. You could have down power lines, it could be a real hazard on wet ground. So again, the best place, middle part of the house, lowest floor possible. And with this past episode that we had with the severe outbreak, GEMA was actually opening shelters. So if you don't feel that your home is safe enough to be in, you can always go to a shelter.
Well, that's great advice. I know that you've covered it from a meteorologist standpoint and certainly helped everybody get prepared. Have you and your wife, Susan, have you actually been through a tornado yourself and had to take cover?
Well, yes and no. There was a time in 1990 that I was forecasting the storm. It was a bad one. It was a supercell. And I'm going, this is getting very close to my house. And it ripped the back deck off. Susan was at home. I wasn't there. I was at work, of course.
Oh.
They had the little kids at the time, and it hit the house and it ripped the back deck right off it and kept going. 6 minutes it lasted.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Which
it was
probably seemed like forever.
Yeah, but when you feel so helpless, you can't do anything but say, take cover, honey.
Oh, wow.
But it was heading right for the house.
Well, Glenn, this has been great. Is there any final advice or anything you'd like to share with us to kind of help us in preparing for what may or may not come? Right?
How much time have you got? I can tell you, there's a lot of myths out there. For example, one of the myths is tornadoes can never hit a downtown Atlanta area. And we saw that change in 2008 when it came right through downtown. And we were tracking it live on the air. We saw the descending vortex come out of the cloud live on TV with our tower cam. Now, that was a supercell thunderstorm, and they do basically a southwest to northeast course. That's the track they take. This one came in from the northeast and moved to the southeast. So that was a totally different storm. So they can and do hit downtown Atlanta. We have the North Georgia mountains, and people think they're safe in the mountains. That's not so. In fact, they can be more dangerous. The supercells track to the northeast. Our orientation of the Appalachian Mountains, southwest to northeast, they act as a lifting mechanism that can actually make storms stronger.
So this could happen in any topography.
Any topography across northern Georgia. And we've seen it time and time again. But there are a lot of people that don't believe that they'll they'll be safe and they'll be safe in the mountains when that's not the case.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Glenn has provided us some great advice, and we really appreciate it. You need to try to make your house as storm ready as possible. Prepare your family with a plan, I think is one of the main takeaways
Absolutely.
that we need. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about windows that can help, again, we wanted you to stay away from the windows, but we do have some great options that could help protect your home a little bit more. Please give us a call or go on our website at ngwindows.com. So again, Ted with North Georgia Replacement Windows, Glenn, our favorite meteorologist.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your
Appreciate
advice.
it.